Hello YouTube, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to do something a little different. I'm just going to talk about the upcoming graphics cards and CPUs, and I gotta say, it is something really exciting to look forward to. So this is something that I'm going to go completely unscripted, so I'm just going to go what's on top of my head. Hopefully I'm not going to mess up too badly. So let's start off with the CPUs. So far in 2020, CPUs have been pretty boring so far. AMD hasn't really released anything since the last launch in summer of 2019. And on Intel, they did release the 10th generation processors, but those processors are based on an architecture that was from 2015. So the only performance improvements you receive with those processors are the extra cores, and those are only for the top end SKUs with the 10 core processor. Anything below that, you're pretty much getting what you have been getting for the last year or more. So AMD is expected to launch their new architecture called Zen 3. Now this architecture is supposedly rebuilt from the ground up, so it's not based on an architecture that's already out. So everything is now based on speculations and rumors. So a lot of the things that I'm going to say going forward is based on speculations and rumors, and maybe some slides and hints that AMD has given over the past few months. Now for the Zen 3 architecture, it is expected to get about 15 to 20% performance improvements across the board. So that accounts for single core and multi-core performance. In terms of CPU performance uplift generation over generation, that is a pretty significant uplift. Now on the Intel side, that's where things get a little bit more murky because there's not a lot of rumors coming out for Intel because they just released their 10th generation processor. However, we are expecting their new processor based on the Rocket Lake architecture to be a significant release, because this will be the first time Intel released a new architecture from the ground up since 2015. Now it's hard to pinpoint where the performance is going to be with this processor because Intel has not confirmed anything or said anything, but based on the rumors and the speculations, we are expecting at least 20% performance uplift from their current generation across the board. Now, on timing, when this is going to be released, it's a little bit tricky because the latest rumor is it could be end of this year, or it could be early next year, or it could be middle of next year. We just don't know. However, there is another rumor that this is going to be topping out at 8 cores, which is a little concerning because AMD has 16 cores on their top SKU. But overall, I would say whether or not some or all of these rumors are true, this means that the competition in the CPU market is really heating up, which really benefits us. It doesn't really benefit them because what we get is we have more compelling products at more compelling prices. Now, before we move on to the more exciting stuff, let's take a moment to like this video if you are liking what you're seeing today. And also don't forget to subscribe to this channel so you get a notification every week when a new video comes out. Okay, let's move on to the really exciting stuff, the graphics cards. So I genuinely believe that the year 2020 is not the year of the CPU. It is actually the year of the graphics cards. So both Nvidia and AMD are expected to launch their new generation products this year, and they're both expected to be insanely fast compared to what we have been seeing for the last few years. I would even say that the performance uplift for this next generation is going to be the biggest jump we have seen in the past decade, perhaps even 2 decades. So starting off with Nvidia, the current generation Turing architecture is really starting to show its age because it was never good with ray tracing, and we'll talk about ray tracing in a bit. But with the upcoming graphics cards, it's expected to have huge performance across the board. I'm hearing, based on the rumors, the performance improvements could be 25% all the way to 90% compared to the best Turing cards today. which is the Titan RTX. And based on what I know so far, the key milestone that Nvidia is striving for this generation is the huge improvement in ray tracing. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with ray tracing is the lighting technology that's sweeping the gaming market at the moment. More and more developers are expected to take ray tracing and implement it into their games. Now, what ray tracing is it's supposed to simulate real-time lighting, whereas today a lot of the lighting is pre-rendered and predetermined. Ray tracing is real-time, so what that means is based on the texture, based on the color, based on the reflection properties of the object in the game, it will behave differently as if it is in real life. Now, going back to topic with Nvidia cards, they are expected to have a huge performance improvement for traditional gaming and also when you turn on ray tracing, because ray tracing has been a problem with Nvidia cards up to this point because Nvidia has been selling ray tracing. However, when you turn on ray tracing, a lot of the games take a huge performance hit. And that is something Nvidia is looking to mitigate for this upcoming generation. Moving on to AMD, that's where things get even more interesting. So AMD has announced that they are releasing their cards based on the new RDNA 2 architecture. Not much is really known about this because AMD hasn't said anything and they're keeping things really tight. The only thing that we can really say and base our speculation on is on the upcoming generation consoles, because they are also expected to use the RDNA 2 architecture. So what we know so far is AMD is expected to make huge strides in performance and power consumption with this architecture. What this means is that there's a huge performance uplift in their new upcoming chips, because right now, believe it or not, the 5700 XT is actually a really small chip. So now if you really think about it, AMD is expected to release a large version of a new architecture. So I am actually expecting more than 2 times the performance of AMD's 5700 XT. So what does that mean in conclusion? In conclusion, that means AMD is going to release a really insanely fast card. Now, this is really exciting for me and a lot of enthusiasts because AMD has not been competitive in the graphics card market for almost a decade. And they actually have not been able to take the performance crown from Nvidia for almost a decade. So if AMD is able to take the performance crown from Nvidia and you have YouTubers starting to use AMD cards and recommending AMD cards, it will definitely even the market more, because right now everyone's recommending Nvidia because they are the best overall. Now, there is one area that we should pay attention to is I do expect these Halo products from both AMD and Nvidia to be really expensive. Probably more expensive than the 2080 Ti today, which is $1,200. I wouldn't be surprised if these new graphics cards cost closer to $2,000. And actually, just to wrap up regarding AMD graphics cards, the RDNA 2 architecture is also expected to support hardware level ray tracing. The real mystery is how good does it do ray tracing? We won't know until it's released. Moving on to the last point and really topping off the end of 2020, we can expect the release of the next generation consoles, both from Microsoft and from Sony. This is pretty good and exciting for me because these consoles are going to be based on next generation graphics hardware, something that's not even available today, which is based on AMD's RDNA 2 architecture, which makes it more exciting because the CPUs are actually based on AMD's Zen 2 processors, which are known to be one of the best, if not the best, most advanced CPU architecture at the moment. This is a stark contrast from the current generation consoles because current generation consoles, when they were released, they were already outdated hardware-wise from day one. They were using a really inefficient CPU and the graphics was really already considered low tier, mid tier by that time. I myself, I'm looking forward to getting one of these consoles. I haven't fully decided which one yet. I think they're gonna be great regardless which one you pick. All right, that just about does it for me. Thank you so much for listening and watching me just talk about upcoming hardware. We're gonna be resuming the build videos next week. So I just thought it was nice to take a break from all of the builds and just have a sit down talk with you guys and just talk about what to expect for the year of 2020. And I gotta say, so far 2020 has been pretty boring, and hopefully, and I do expect the rest of 2020 to really be exciting. All right, guys, thank you so much, and I'll catch you in the next video.